just to recap, and we can start, but I'll go to the slides a little later. It's exciting always to go to the practical aspect of it than from the theoretical. Currently, I've been a DSMB reporting statistician for at least 11 to 12 active trials at this point, and I'm doing this for at least 13 years now as a DSMB reporting statistician. So it excites me because I get the privilege of looking at the unblinded data. It comes with a lot of pressure and excitement too, because I'm one privileged guy to look at the results, which is people are spending millions and millions of dollars, and except the DSMB reporting DSMB members, I'm the only person who knows the treatment is working or not. Now it comes to the pressure, because if I'm going to produce a wrong result, or if I'm going to give a result which is flipping the treatment group, the DSMB members are going to make decisions based on that. So that comes with the pressure. I think two of you are DSMB statisticians, yes. Yeah, that's one thing which I've been doing this for the last 13 years, and have a good poker face. And you will never find anything from my face that whether I'm stressed or happy or anything, no, you will not see anything on it. It's mainly to blind the information, right? Because they would be requesting, I would say, at least 10 extra reports where I cannot discuss with the study team, I cannot discuss with the PI, I cannot discuss with anyone. I need to report those tables, validate on my own, and I won't anyone have to have support me. Now, where is the pressure comes in? Is this the result right or wrong? I need to work overtime. I cannot claim those hours. I cannot report that to my director too. Oh, I've been working on this one for this night. No, we ask, oh, everything is great. So that comes with what the statistician do. So that it's the exciting part of it. Why do we need a charter? Why do we need standard templates? Why do we need procedures? It makes your life easy. When you're handling multiple studies, if you don't have a proper SOP, as Srikanth rightly mentioned, standard operating procedure, you will tend to deviate. You end up doing something that was going to cause the study, cause the patient. The ultimate idea behind running any of the trial is it going to improve the treatment, and is it going to help the patients or not? That's an ultimate goal for anything that we are doing here. Irrespective of how much money they are giving or anything, we are looking into. So the standard operating procedures are being set up at PHRI for like what 20, 25 years now, and we have been following the same. It's working really well for us. Now, is this what you should follow? No. You can have your own standard operating procedure that works for your institute, works for your environment, works for you. You can have your own SOP, right? What we are going to look at today, we are going to look at the table of content, what goes into a charter. There are several aspects that goes into, include the topics covered in the DSMB Charter, introduction to the study. As Srikanth was saying, we need to have a quick introduction about what the study is, because you might change the protocol over the course of the study, but you need to keep updating it, making sure the charter is updated there. And then you have the roles and responsibility, even though everyone knows it, but you need to put it in a document, because this is a document that's going to protect the DSMB members, protect the study, protect the PI who is investing the time and energy to run the trial. So this is a single document that's going to protect everyone from end to end. And this document, primarily initiated by the sponsor and the study coordinator. I think we have some study coordinators here. They are the ones who initiate that one. It's not the statistician, it's not the PI who initiate this charter. They need to have an understanding, because there are content in this one where they need to put how the study would be conducted in an ongoing way. So then specific issues, then contract, identification, which is extremely important. We will cover that topic soon. And the membership, Srikanth covered about that one. Responsibility of the board statistician, trial statistician, and independent statistician. And we will also be touch base about the open, close, and where the minutes will be saved, and the timing and the meeting logistics of this. And the frequency, and when you will receive the report, and when do you take a snapshot of the data, what report they are looking at. If you are going to have a DSMB tomorrow, you cannot run all the reports today and compile it and give it to them. You need to plan ahead. Okay, now I'm going to work it backwards when I'm going to do the snapshot of the data, run the reports, validate, and send it to them. So what DSMB is going to look is a 1 month old report. So the DSMB Charter serves as a foundational document guiding the data and a data safety monitoring board. And details of the framework, routine operations, and specific meeting protocols and essential components include the structure, defined roles, plans, and especially the conflict of interest. Everything will be written down in clear that you have a conflict of interest, you need to disclose that. So this is an example of an active trial that we have at PHRI, and there's a screenshot. And so we have a template that is created for PHRI, right? Now, you can also refer to an FDA. There is a document, they have a suggested template on a DSMB charter, which you can take it and you can also use it. But there is no strict rule. This is how it should be. But there is all the content need to be covered. That's the roles and responsibility, membership of the DSMBs, timing of and purpose of the DSMB meetings, procedures, and the revisions. And especially when it comes to timing, you need to think about what are the several aspects of it that takes on. Whether you're going to have a DSMB meeting every 6 months, or you're going to have it every 1 year, or you're going to have the DSMB meeting when number of events is achieved, or you're going to have a DSMB meeting when number of recruited patients is achieved. So there are several factors comes into play. You don't need to follow our standard procedure every 6 months. I'm just going to have it. What is it you're going to look at it? Nothing. There is going to be no data. It's going to be a tough recruiting study. You have 1 patient per month. Then what do you have? You have 6 patients in 6 months. What are we going to look at it? Nothing, right? So the first part is, of course, the introduction of the study. And the most important one, is it a double blind, or is it's a open label, or is a single blind where the surgeon or anyone who knows it, but the patient is blinded to the trial, or patient knows it, but surgeon is blinded to the outcomes. We need to be clearly specifying that, because the decisions depends on what kind of trial that we are running here. And then it describes about the study. This is one trial that we are currently running on. And the roles and responsibility. It's again, I don't want to reiterate this. Srikanth has gone in detail explaining about the review and evaluate the accumulated trial data. And as Srikanth mentioned several times, they advise and they recommend. They do not order, or they do not say you should do this. They only suggest, they only advise, they only recommend on this one. And the most important is the progress of the trial and the integrity of the trial. Tomorrow, we will be covering about the data templates that we use it for a DSMB. In that, you will see a list of tables that we generate that talks about the integrity of the trial. That is how they monitor the integrity of the trial. They will ask, okay, you have 100 CRF that come in, expected. You got 100 CRF. And what is the quality of the data? How many queries are in the database? How many queries are resolved? You need to report everything, and tomorrow we will cover that in detail. But these things also need to go into the DSMB to make sure that this is what you're expecting a DSMB to do it. You need to specify that. Otherwise, they will not look at that. They are not voluntary organization that they will just say, oh, I will start looking, help you and everything. No, you need to specify what you really wanted. Yes, yes.
Talking about the DSMB, have a site visit. Don't do that. But can they order for a source data verification, especially for any particular site?
So,
so that the responsibility of the project team, but can they order the project team?
I don't think they will order. They might request, but they will be very careful about when they are requesting something like that. The reason why they will be very careful is they should not trigger any kind of suspicion that something is happening in a particular site is what triggering a DSMB member to request for this one. So they will wait for opportunity, they will wait for a window, and a lot of discussion will happen within the DSMB members. Should that be communicated to the study? Am I unblinding a data or not? That discussion is an extremely important discussion that happens with that. So based on that discussion, Yes, they might request and say, oh, I'm seeing a lot of queries are still pending. Can you please look into it? Yes.
This guideline, this is charter.
Yeah.
So you are sent the PHRI guidelines.
Yeah.
Is there any guidelines?
Yes.
from FDA?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can send you the link. There are some recommendations. There are several templates available. FDA is not directly having it, but NIH have a DSMB charter template. So you can actually, it is on the website. You can actually take it and use that one. But this is custom made for us because of an institution and the kind of research institute that we are in. It is, there are specific things that we want to add into it.
Maybe to comment a little bit on your question. Rarely does the DSMB look at the data quality by the site.
Mhm.
They are looking at the study
Summary.
overall. If the study team in the open session alerts them to, we have problems with this site, etc., they sometimes may want the DSMB to pronounce themselves on, oh, we're concerned with the quality of such and such happening at some sites. And that sort of gives backing to the study coordinating group.
Yep.
To go and say, see, the DSMB wants us to check on you. Now we're checking on you. But the DSMB cares for the overall study integrity. They're not there to monitor the site.
So for example, sometimes they might, when they're looking at the data, when they're in an open session, they will look at the data and there may be a lot of missings, as in some variables. And they would say, can you please make sure, is it a systematic, it's a random missing, like in among what site? They might ask for more information, but that's not unblinding information. All they are looking at is, can you get more complete information before the next DSMB? They will just request it. Now, how the site is handling it, it's up to them.
What is my primary outcome is a outcome modality. Have to report the safety.
Depends. For example, in a surgery trial, if your all-cause mortality is your primary outcome, safety is a bleeding. But in a trial, in a surgery trial, we might expect bleeding to happen because the tranexamic acid trial or in a hip surgery trial, there's a certain level of bleeding can happen. Is it a life-threatening bleeding or is it a major bleeding? Then they need to have a categorization on it. So that's why each study is very unique to define what is my adverse event or my serious adverse event. It's not always a death is a serious adverse event.
But the primary outcome is not related to the safety.
Yes, yes.
So let's say if my sample size is 2,000, and towards the end of the trial, I've observed around 400 deaths. My by-arm sample size is 1,000. 400 can be all in one.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And the other arm, there's a, but because I'm not reporting by because it's not that outcome, I'm calling the bleeding and other things as the safety. What can be the okay, because then I will be unblinded, analyze everything in one arm, and there's some intent aspect that we need to do.
Next time, don't choose that DSMB members. Probably. If some 400 events is happening on one, I'm just saying it's happening on one arm and the trial has not started as of that time that you're talking about, there is a major issue on it, right? It is extremely a rare scenario. And a lot of times the death will also be the serious adverse events. Of course, they report death. They want to capture it, but it's not by a treatment, right? It's always by overall they want to capture it. So that's always there.
I want to clarify, you said that if it is not an efficacy outcome, it is a safety outcome. So some of your outcomes may be bad outcomes. And so that's safety as well. Maybe your study is trying to prevent death, but it's an HIV study, you're getting opportunistic infections. You're not dying, but that's a secondary outcome. That's not not just adverse effects that are the safety. Some of the secondary outcomes or tertiary outcomes can be also viewed as safety. When they're looking at it, they're looking at safety overall. They know, clinicians will know that, yes, this is in HIV, so I'm going to look at this. These are bad things that can happen. But from medication or from not having, we look at the totality of the.
In dentistry, like if you're doing a surgery or whatever you're trying to do, and you have a major bleed, you need to take it to the emergency. That's a serious adverse event. But we know there's going to be bleed. Bleed is inevitable. It's going to happen. But how do you define it? It's a study specific.
This kind of problem, you have an interim analysis plan.
Oh yeah.
It's not very unlikely that.
Oh yeah, that's what I said. If there is going to be a 400 events on one arm and things are not taken into consideration, then yes.
My query was, so as a unblinded study, you also having reports about site-specific ones by default? You present like 50 sites breakup or?
So there is a study monitoring reports and there is a DSMB reporting. So in the DSMB reports, we don't provide anything by site by default. But in the site monitoring or study monitoring reports, we have everything by site available for the PI to monitor. You monitor everything. Let's say you are the PI, you will monitor everything. But if you find something by site, then you try to address that particularly by site. But we don't provide that to the DSMB members until they request for it. Even for the AE, SAE listing, we don't put it in the report as a default because sometimes we might have, I don't know, 1,000 of AEs, adverse events. Which
how will that figure out the site-specific query in the DSMB?
in the DSMB, they don't worry about the site specific at all. They don't look at it.
Is there a mechanism for somebody to pull up a site, as you said, the open session?
Yes. So the PI responsibility in an open session, when they present the open report, it's to give the study overall conduct. Like you need to tell them how my study is going on.
All the PIs are there because sometimes we have to in India, like the trial that we are running, they have all the sites of each of all the PI. Not one.
So let's go back to clarify that one. So if you are the sponsor, a study investigator who initiated the trial, in your case, let's say you are the PI. Others are all site PIs. Site PIs are all not part of any of these discussions. They do not contribute to the open report or they do not contribute to any of these aspects of it. They are not even in the open session.
It's just that we are trying to customize to the Indian setting for the ICMR studies.
Okay.
By default now, I understand from your discussion, the ICMR person would be the PR. That we are sent because we are all PIs designated in the ICMR study or sites.
ICMR is your sponsor, right?
Yeah, but then who is the PI?
You are the PI. So let's say you are designing the trial.
Yeah.
You are designing the trial. You have multi-site. Like you have people from Chennai, you have a site in Chennai, you have a site in Kerala, you have a site in everywhere. You are the main PI. So when we say principal investigator, you have initiated and you are the main PI. So it's all your responsibility to run this one. And ICMR is just a sponsor in this one. Yes.
Right now, sorry, on the context of the right now, ICMR is initiating the call, and there is a scientist in ICMR.
Sure.
Who is overseeing all the sites. So they assign one PI to every site. That's how some of the.
Okay, but then those are all the site PIs, and that's why we have a steering committee. Let's say ICMR would be part of the steering committee.
The sponsor and the main PI probably the same.
I just got around it. I'm thinking I don't have problems having all the 5 PIs on the open session.
Yeah.
There's a few pitfalls. If we have a multi-site study, where you have 600 sites at the pharma.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
When you have multi-site ones with 20, it still is logistically difficult to get all of these people there. Because what are they going to do? You cannot have these, everybody presenting this.
By site results are not presented.
So in the open session, yes, you may be presenting recruitment by site, maybe presenting
Sure.
retention by site. Because you're not presented by bond, you're presented by site, looking at performance. And yes, maybe if you have the 5 site PIs there, the DSMB board member says, hey, why is your site doing so poorly of this? That may be helpful to bring it up. But typically, so let's say the adverse events, they notice that overall, there is 40 serious adverse events. And you say overall, if the open session was 40, immediately somebody's going to say, and then you should expect this 1 to 24. Are these 40 in one place? Are these 40 in the one arm? Now, in the open session, you can't show it by arm. But then what you would be forced to do is say, you would look at it by site and you say, oh, out of the 5 sites, these 40, 25 of them are in just one site. And the other are distributed equally around the other side. So now that site is in question. Why are you having such and such? They will question it because they originally were worried about so many at a given site. But it's not the customary thing that we mathematically prepare these things by site. Now in the closed session, will say that site that had 25 of them, are they equally distributed by the arm? Or not? And if they're not, now there's a problem. And that's when they start.
But it'll-
We look at the 40
But-
overall by intervention, let's see where the problem.
With the randomization, it's balanced always. And again, DSMB have a main communication with the main PI only. They do not communicate with sites and they do not worry about what is happening. Yes. If it's a PI initiated trial, let's say if it's a sponsored trial, yeah. 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 Mhm. That's absolutely right. And if you want to run a good clinical trial, you need to disclose everything and everything as possible. The reason is you're protecting your study. You give a half-baked information. You're not giving the full information about the study. The DSMB could stop the trial early with whatever the information they are getting. So in our experience, the PI like to disclose everything. They would say, this is my data. This is all my CRF. But in a lot of scenarios, the good DSMB members will ask for more information. They have access to all the CRF. They are not going to look at one particular p-value and say, I'm going to stop the trial. They look at the totality. She can always mention, they look at the totality of the trial and, oh, I'm missing some information. You have collected this, something scientifically, it's not happening. Where is this information? Oh, we didn't give it to you. Okay, can you please program and give it to me in the next DSMB? I'm not making any decision until I see the report. Right? So it's very important and it's a good DSMB members can help their successful trial.
At the first meeting, the organization, whoever has developed the charter, the charter, the back side of it has all the mock tables, figures that are going to be presented. DSMB, good DSMB will look at all of those. You're not presenting this.
Yep.
Why not? I want this. Wait a second. Why are you only giving it this way? I want it that way. You should do this. You should do that. You should do that. They will demand it.
Yep.
You have to follow what they say. The PI that developed this charter, reluctant to disclose dirty laundry, they'll be forced to show the dirty laundry.
And they are not, DSMB is not reporting to anybody. Right? They are an independent body. Like they don't report to a sponsor just because you give money. No, that's nothing to do with it. They will. That's their responsibility. So that they are not working for you, but that responsibility is, if I'm signing up as a DSMB member, it's my responsibility to dive in and understand the data as much I could to protect the patients, like they are for patients. They want to save the patients.
When you join the DSMB, you have to be sincere.
Yes,
Join
that's
the DSMB.
truthful.
To do proper monitoring.
Yep.
Otherwise, don't accept the
Nope.
offer. You're not going to be willing to do the proper.
No bias. Okay, so the second part of the charter would talks about the roles and responsibility, especially the sponsor. You need to disclose who is the sponsor here. You need to say the sponsor is, let's say, PHRI, sponsor the overall conduct and the funding of the trial. We are the PI initiated trial. I'm the sponsor. You need to disclose it. Then who is a coordinating center? And am I coordinating center? Am I collecting the data? Am I processing the data? I'm analyzing the data? Then I am the coordinating center for this one. And the most important one also is to say who is the statistical data analysis center. It could be an independent organization. In US, when a pharma or anyone who is running the trial, always the statistical data analysis center would run the DSMB and everything, or the independent organization. PHRI is unique. The institute where we work in the last 25 years, as Shrikant was mentioning, we are the statistical data center for all the studies. But we have a soundproof system, how to protect the data, how I'm not unblinded. I'm unblinded to you more than so many trials, but I'm also the manager. I'm also this one. But I know how the system works and how it's protected. And it's been proven. Like once you do the setup, it will keep everything under the control. And this is what they do, right? It's an independent statistician as a DSMB reporting statistician. I'm not involved in any study conduct. I'm not involved in the protocol development. I'm not involved in the SAP. I'm not involved in the study reports that we create, monitoring reports. I don't care about any of those things. No one should be even talking to me. They should not approach and ask me for anything. Sample size calculation, no. And is why? Because he's unblinded to the emergency trial safety and efficacy data. And I've been constantly and presents data to the DSMB. That's a privilege. You're given the honor to know the results by treatment. You need to keep that soundproof, and is isolated from the study. And these things need to go into the charter to explicitly say, this is my role. This is what I'm going to do. Not to assume, oh, sure, my unblinded statistician will not see it. No. The members of the DSMB are selected, again, by the steering committee. In this case, the co-chairs, usually they will have a steering committee compile of the sponsors and the investigators, and everyone come together. That's the steering committee. They select a good one on a multidisciplinary one. The DSMB will be composed of physicians, as we know, and you can see, I don't know whether I've seen a DSMB committee without a statistician. So we have the previous one again, sorry, but that's the thing. It's expected in that role, and it's always there is a physician, statistician in this role when we have DSMB members. And she can mention already, I don't want to go through again, is a responsibility and continue until end of the trial. They might be given an opportunity to be part of the main publication. Sometimes they just put it in the appendix and they say, we thank the DSMB members for serving the purpose, serving as a DSMB members, but mostly at the end of the trial, after the recommendation is accepted, their role is ended. And the written notification will be provided if the termination of the board activities. In a lot of cases, the DSMB members accept to be part of the study, and then they will have a conflict of interest, or they might think, oh, I don't think this is the right study. Oh, I don't like this PI. Whatever, they can have a decision to say, I don't want to be part of it. But they are already unblinded to the study. They need to sign the document to make sure that they are not going to discuss about the results to anybody. So they are also obliged to make sure they maintain the privacy of the data, because it's an ongoing trial. So they cannot do anything they want. So they have the authority, or they have the power to resign. And the most important, which is under question or scrutiny, is the financial conflict of interest. A lot of times they will have some stock. A lot of times they will be have invested on some drug. They are worked on another trial where they were part of the DSMB, they made a decision to stop the trial, they would have benefited from that. So they need to disclose in what is happening. I might be a DSMB member in a different institute study, and I'm sitting here. So my institute is maybe a competition to another institute. Am I going to stop the trial because it's just a competition? No, I need to disclose everything that I'm working on this trial. And there is a competitive trial can happen. There's, let's say, colchicine. There may be 2 trials running in colchicine. So you need to disclose that, oh, I worked with Bayer on some trial, but now I'm not part of it, but I'm working on this trial. So you need to disclose that. And these things need to be in the charter to make sure that everyone is happy about it. At the beginning of each meeting, DSMB will disclose all the conflict of interest, because every time it can change, and they need to, the chair always initiate the meeting. They are the head of the meeting when they start. They need to ask, do you have any conflict of interest? They need to disclose in front of everyone. And the most important is the 3.3, the point that we are talking about is, if in case you're part of the trial and the trial is happening, stopping the trial, and there's way that there can be suing the company. Oh, something has happened. Or this, as Srikanth was mentioning, the closed minutes were out. And now somebody is saying, oh, this guy, because of this person is what the trial has stopped, that's spoiled me, I have died, or whatever. They can put anything they want to. Who is going to protect them? They are helping a study. The DSMB members need to be protected. So the document is custom made by the institute who is running it as a specialist sponsor, and say, in case anything goes wrong, we will take care of your lawyer fees or whatever it is. We will make sure this happens. Nowadays, the DSM members are strict about this one. They do not volunteer to be part of the DSMB until the indemnification is signed. But a lot of institutes are very hesitant to sign that one too. It's not that easy. It need to involve contracts. It need to involve a lot of other political things. I'm not going to insure you for whatever you do. But they say, no, I'm not going to volunteer if you're not going to sign this document. So that kind of discussion always happens when you have a DSM member adding to your trial, which you need to take into account when you do that. So, and the timing of it, the first, as Srikanth mentioned, and the first open meeting to review the trial protocol, they just review the protocol and they can suggest something and finalize the charter and review the format of the data presentation. And that's the most important one. In the first meeting, it is always expected to submit the table template. The table template is prepared by the main PI with the study coordinators, with the statistician. At that time, I am not unblinded to the data, because the first patient is not randomized. So I can prepare the unblinded statistician can sit and prepare the document too if you want to. And then it's presented. They need to approve it. They don't just review it. They need to approve the tables. That this is, I agree, this is what I want to see. And now the committee will meet at least twice a year. This is a format that we have it because we have a standard practice, ethical reason that every 6 months we will have a DSMB. There is no criteria that we put in. It is always 6 months. We have the capacity, we have the resource to do that. Not all institutes will have the same resource to do every 6 months. It is a time-consuming process. At PHRI, we do at least 2 to 3 DSMB per month, which is extreme. In other institute, you might see maybe 1 DSMB every 3 months, maybe. So that means you need to have that many resources, and you need to work backwards to take a snapshot, rerun all the tables, and the average number of tables that we submit is around 70 tables to a DSMB. So it is a lot of work, and that's why I don't want to advertise that you should have it every 6 months. You need to customize. When you are preparing your own charter for your own trial, think about it. What is right for me? So then the meeting formats, and again, 3 or 5, it's arbitrarily chosen. There is no reason why you need to have that one. But primarily the open session where we are presenting the report, in my experience, what I've seen is always a DSMB member. The PI is the one who presents the open session report. They say, this is my trial, this is how it's going on. There is some change, new trials are published, but we are looking into the recruitment. This is what is happening. That's what it happens primarily in the open session, and the minutes are taken and it is being stored. In the closed session, it's always two ways. Sometimes the chair, who really want to be actively involved in the study, they say, no worries, you don't need to present anything. Send the report 1 week before, we will all read it, and if any concern, we will discuss that point. But in other places, in NIH, for example, NIH statisticians, usually they prepare a PowerPoint presentation in a closed session. They summarize according to my understanding of the data. This is what is happening. They give you an executive summary. It takes time. You need to give the information. Once it's all presented, then statisticians go quiet. You will answer only if there is any question. It's only the discussion that happens within the DSMB members. You will see that in the on Friday morning when we are doing the mock DSMB. And as you know, I have not sat in any executive closed session. We are not allowed. It's only the DSMB members, and we don't know. I've never seen. I don't even know whether it happened or not, because there is no documentation to me. There is nothing is disclosed. We maintain only the closed session minutes. We have seen trial where they say, I don't want closed session minutes. I've been part of it. They said no. The DSMB chair was from UK. He said no. No closed session minutes. I will write a letter saying the study is good to continue. Don't maintain any minutes, Kumar. That's it. Whatever he says is what the end result is. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I went back to the PI, to the chair, and asked, is it okay if I disclose this to the PI? He said, sure, I don't mind. And next charter, we incorporated that. We said the closed minutes will not be recorded. It's in the charter. The first charter, no. The second charter, we had it there. So,
how rigorous the first meeting to review the protocol?
it is the main meeting actually. The second meetings and third meetings is only data. The first meeting is only to understand the data, understand the protocol, and any suggestions to the protocol, to the study conduct. It's the most important meeting, and it usually goes for an hour and a half. And the rest of the meeting is around 30 minutes to 45 minutes in open session. That's it. Because they don't go back to anything about the protocol.
Supposing there are recommendations made at the meeting.
Yes.
The protocol goes back to the IRB for approval.
Yes. Yeah. It will. But
So,
that's why they don't finalize the protocol until they have the first meeting with the DSMB members sometimes. They will, because that's why the DSM members are picked even before the first patient is randomized. And because they were going to say it, and it is expensive to amend the protocol. I don't know if you all have done it, like it's a lot of work. So they don't want to go back and amend the protocol. And in sponsored trial, each kind, like in US, if you want to amend the protocol, per site, it's $5,000. They don't want to do anything to that. So they will be very careful before it goes to the final approval. So that's why they select the DSM members. They have the meeting before the first patient is randomized. And it's a very intense one, for sure. Or that's the only opportunity they get to get the feedback. Yes. No, it is to protect the member. He doesn't want, even by mistake, the names are not going to be there. It is going to be general, but in the minutes, it will say who are all attended the closed session, and it will tell you the basics of it. They discussed about something, like some basic information that we put in. He wants to be like more protective, and he said, no, don't even have this one, because there is no recommendation from FDA that there should be a closed minutes. FDA will not get into all these minute things, and they are not telling, oh, you should have a closed minutes. There is no requirement at all. So when there is no requirement, they don't want to have it. Yeah, usually when he recommends, he always discusses with the rest of the DSMB members. He always make to a conscious decision that, oh, I don't want it. You guys prefer to have it. If other members are saying, oh, I really like to have a basic closed session minutes, Then the chair makes a decision at the end after talking with everyone. But in my scenario, everyone agreed. I'm happy, no minutes. Right? Yes. 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 So, no. The DSMB member do not want the closed session minutes. He's not saying, do not disclose that I never had a closed session. He's happy to say, go and say, I have a closed session, because he is going to send a letter to a DSMB, to the PI saying, we have reviewed the data by treatment. Everything looks good. Continue the trial. So he is open to that, but do not record the minutes is what he's saying. And that will go into the charter again. We are not hiding that information. Yes. Good point. But end of the day, if I'm not going to have a minutes, then where will I enter any of those things? Like, it's all the information that happens within the session, right? So.
So the discussions are very lively. They're very much back and forth. There's differences of opinion among the members. And because members are actively participating in the discussions, and that level of detail is never reached.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
People are, if you record it, if they know it's going to be recorded, people are not going to be discussing that.
They will be talking about politics. They will be talking about NIH. They will be talking about several aspects of it, which it's not only the trial they discuss in the closed session, right? Like, several things they discuss it. But
nowadays, we have to worry about people that have smart watches that are recording everything and sending it to who knows where. In the Zuckerberg will know exactly what was discussed and send you advertisements about things. So we have to be very careful with this kind of stuff. Or cell phone. And cell phone is already recording things. Will send me ads and all sorts of stuff.
And what he is saying is not an exaggeration. It just happened recently in one of our closed session meeting, in the trial unblinding meeting. The co-PI was sitting with an Apple Watch, and he was just talking and said, sorry, I cannot give you this information.
I'm not hearing you very clearly. Can you repeat?
He just keeps listening to everything, and he just keeps giving us information like, oh no. So it's scary, but again, what can we do?
We can point it out to them.
Yeah, he knows it 3 or 4 times, but again, the sponsor was sitting there. Anyway.
After reviewing the protocol, the DSMB, one of the DSMB members, after discussion, the DSMB chair says that, okay, can you discuss this with your institutional ethics committee or the principal investigator or the CID? And they give suggestion about the outcome, maybe about the equation, or the timing of the outcome. If not, that person may suggest something additional regarding some adverse event.
Sure.
You will need to adjust your database.
Sure.
So how early you want that DSMB meeting to be done before you randomize the first patient? Because more the suggestions, more the job.
Yes. And there is a limitation for that too, right? The point is, we cannot hire a DSMB members like way before, because the time is precious. So you cannot just engage them. The main thing that we also have the frequency every 6 months is to constantly remind them, keep them engaged. They don't want to come back after a year and a half. What study is it? Who are these people? So it's to actively keep them involved. But mostly we get the meeting closer to the randomization. Before finalizing the protocol, that's when we will have this meeting. The protocol is all ready to go, but before that, we will have the first meeting, and that's when we will go ahead for it. And again, they might suggest something, and you already have a database ready to go live. We will go live. We will not make changes, and we will do as an MSc in the next, before the next meeting, we implement that. Not that everything can be implemented immediately. Something need to wait. It's fine.
You know, these things can have implication on the training of the site coordinator.
It It is. It is. It is. It is.
So, when you go to start a study, your protocol is not a rough protocol. It has been reviewed by so many people. You've gone reviewed by the funding agency. You've got it reviewed by your IRB. You have it reviewed by colleagues. You have been very careful on it. It is almost unlikely that the DSMB in
Yep.
the organization means that, oh, this is very wrong with the protocol. We need to do this, this, this. You have carefully thought about it. So most of the times, it's almost, in my experience,
Yep.
it's very minor.
Very minor.
One comment, not a major change. As it says, you can usually proceed. If you are going to engage the DSMB into reviewing your protocol, and you're going to present them with a rough one, you are in trouble.
Yes.
Because they will then demand a lot of things, and now you still have to amend it. If you registered it, you have to go back to clinicaltrials.gov and unregister it and register a new one. And so you have to be careful when you are developing your protocol. And DSMB usually almost rubber stamps the protocol.
They,
So
yeah.
Careful.
We do not give them too much responsibility. Yes.
There is a saying, 1 year study.
Say for infections, where the frequency of infections is likely to occur more frequently. This is a 1 year study, therefore, you don't, before you think about DSMB, the study is over.
Yes.
So any duration of 1 year study is unlikely to have a DSMB.
Yeah.
If it is a 2 year study, then probably you might have one DSMB.
1 day.
So therefore, we should not get carried away by the fact that every 6 months we should have a
Yeah.
DSMB. It is not possible or feasible.
You have an interim, or you just need to make sure somebody have looked at your data in the interim to make sure things are moving. Okay, so the report and timing, as I mentioned earlier, we have a practice of sending the reports 5 working days before the meeting. 2 DSMB members, not to mention that Shrikant reads it. I'm not saying he doesn't read it, but technically, I have not, don't quote me on this one, but I have not seen a DSM member spending time reading the report before coming to the meeting. They very rarely they do. DSMB chairs, I have seen it very systematically. They do it. They take that responsibility very, very seriously. I have seen it because when we share it, we know who are all open the file. When we do it in SFTP or OneDrive, we know exactly when they downloaded everything. We have seen a lot of people just few minutes before the meeting, they open it, but they take only 5-10 minutes. They should be able to review it. But it is our process to send the report 5 days before, and we take a snapshot 1 month before the meeting, and we could work on a backward. So there's a lot of work on a study coordinator side, and there are people there. And the statisticians who run the report send it to the study coordinators for validation. So you need to take everything into consideration when you're having a DSMB. That's why it's a time-consuming process. You should not have it every 6 months, then you should not have it every 6 months. And there are several data that will be displayed on it, and I didn't put a copy of this one, but you should be including what are all the different type of reports that we will be including in an open report. That from enrollment to demographic to compliance, and you just mentioned a list of reports in case you want. Yes. 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 No. Oh, again, just to clarify, the open session and the closed session happens back to back.
Okay.
So it's on the same day.
Yes.
Open session completes,
Right.
you exit, and then closed session starts.
Okay. And then executive followed by.
Executive is, we don't even schedule that one.
Okay.
So the study coordinators schedule the open session.
Right.
The DSMB unblinded statistician schedule the closed session. So I have 2 Zoom calls in general to
Right.
keep it, because now the recording and everything has come in place, and Copilot,
Right.
Teams, we try to avoid, and we have 2 calls. You schedule the open session, everybody exit, then I start my closed session, unblinded
Right.
statistician. you join the closed session. Whether the executive is happening or not, I don't even know, because it's a responsibility of the DSMB chair to schedule the call with the rest of the members. So
Right.
I won't even know if they're having a call or not.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. We cannot even say that. We will just put a line saying that there will be an executive session. That's all we can say. What they're going to do, maybe, again. So DSMB meeting, the maintaining of the records is extremely important, and you need to have a standard process in place. How do you maintain the record? The records can be several things. We are talking about the minutes, but there is certain things that we have not put into this one is the closed reports that we do, which is specific to the closed session. You need to have a process in place to maintain that. When you create an open report, the next DSMB, you need to make sure these reports are not added to that one. These lines, for example, they will say, can you add a BMI? In your original open report, the BMI is not there, and they want to monitor a BMI, you would have added it. But the unblinded statistician have a lot of responsibility to make sure the next DSMB report, the BMI should be removed. It should not be part of the open report, because somebody will question, why did you add the BMI there? What's going on with the BMI? What is this new report that you have created by treatment? What is this report? I have not seen it before. It will all trigger the PI to think something is going on in the study. So you need to be extremely careful about maintaining the record. And we have a process in place. Again, it's very unique to what we do at PHRI, because we are the institute where we are doing the unblinding statisticians too. So we need to come up with the process. And the most important is the PI need to give 3 business days. Within the 3 business days, they need to send the written notification of the recommendation to the PI. And it is a responsibility of the PI to send it to the steering committee and the rest of the site, because there is an obligation to the sites that the DSMB is happening in every 6 months as per the charter. Let's say they need to submit the report to IRB that DSMB has happened. They have said to continue the trial. So there is a process in place. The chair has a responsibility to send the return notification to continue the trial. So we need to do that, and it all need to be there in specific. You cannot expect DSM member to know by himself or herself that I should write a letter. If you don't put it, they will not do it. If you put it, they need to follow this one. And it's a responsibility of unblinded statisticians to remind them. They depend a lot on unblinded statisticians. Question. Okay, and then this, in the recent time, we have started adding the statistical method into the charter. The reason is goes to the next point about the interim analysis. So in reality, in last 20 years, with whatever we have done, we have included only about the interim analysis, how to run the interim analysis, when to run the interim analysis. But recent time, we also I've truncated a lot of information from the statistical method, but it gives you the complete analysis. Is it the time to event? Am I using computing? What is my primary outcome? Everything will be in their place. Am I using the log rank? Whatever it is, I will have a description for them to know this is what we are doing. And my interim analysis is based on my trial. We run a large, simple randomized trial in a big population. So we can afford to have 2 interim analysis. 2 interim analysis is a 50% and 75% is a common approach of interim analysis we have. Shrikant is going to talk in detail about the interim analysis tomorrow. I don't want to go in detail about this. And you might have seen I have highlighted something called modified A. That's all the approaches that you use for interim analysis. But you need to be very specific here to say, this is what I'm going to do. Yes. So in a sponsored trial, let's say in an FDA trial, we have a SAP. As soon as the first patient is randomized, we start creating the SAP. But in a regular trial, it's impossible. We will not be able to create a SAP as soon as it happens, because once you finalize a SAP, it's a final SAP. You cannot keep changing it. Then it becomes a complicated. Why are you modifying the version and everything? So we don't create the SAP at that point. This one comes from the protocol. So in the protocol, you will have a statistical section that will say, this is what I'm going to do with analysis. It won't be that detailed, but it will give you an overall picture of how my analysis is going to be. It's from the protocol. So, and Well, Srikanth will cover about the interim and what is called 4 standard deviation or 3, or when do we need to penalize alpha or not. We will cover that tomorrow. And of course, we put this last line over there. The details of this analysis will be further described in the statistical analysis plan. Because this is a sponsored trial, so that means we already have a SAP in place while we are doing this. And Srikanth will cover about that too. Nowadays, they want a statistical analysis plan for an interim analysis too. There is a separate SAP that we are trying to prepare. It is a very detailed one, but they are behind it because FDA is requesting to have a guidance document.
Can you please clarify this one?
Yeah.
This is about the DSMB.
Yes.
Do you clarify that how did he reach 6,500 patients? What kind of randomization you will do and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, do you give a full detail about the SAP at that meeting itself?
Nowadays, for the interim analysis, we have to give the detailed recruitment process. How did we reach this population? What kind of analysis we would be doing? We need to give that. What kind of monitoring is done? There are several aspects that goes into that interim analysis SAP, and why I've chosen this approach of stopping the trial, and we need to give that details. But in a PI initiated trial, the SAP won't be even there.
I think you guys could like, when you give details of the study design and sample size, like where did this, why 6,500? We don't put the details.
In the charter, no. In the protocol, we do. So in the protocol, what they do is when they are reviewing the data, which I will cover tomorrow, when they are reviewing the data and they will be looking at the treatment, let's say your estimated 5% event rate, and what you are observing is only 2%, they will ask the unblinded statistician to go to the protocol and look at it and say why it is happening. Can you look at the sample size calculation? What is the sample? They review and refer to the protocol on the sample size. Yes, they look at it. It's not part of the chart. Yes. Okay. Questions? This is the last slide, if I'm right. And the recommendation again, for each meeting, the DSM chair will notify the trial. So what happens is, as soon as the meeting is over, they need to either by email or the telephone, they need to call the PI and say the DSMB closed session is over, everything is good, continue the trial. And then you have 3 working business days to have a written notification to put the same thing there. This is a process in place because the PI says, it's not that FDA is requesting you to do that. It's just that PI is very anxious, right? Like they will be waiting for something to happen. And we put it in a document because end of the day, DSMB member need to spend that time. Again, pick up the phone or email, they need to write down. If you don't put it in the charter, they will not follow that one. So this is also a guidance document for them. They depend a lot on this charter and they will follow everything that you put in the charter. And you need to think through what is it you're going to put in the charter, because you put in the charter that you will have a DSMB every 6 months and you go to an IRB or you go to a regulated body and submit the trial. They will first ask you why you didn't have a DSMB every 6 months as you mentioned in your charter. We had a recent Health Canada audit. We missed one DSMB. It was supposed to happen every 6 months, but due to COVID, we missed it and we had it every 1 year for 2 years. They picked it up. They said, why? Because there is no recruitment. It's the same number of, yes, but your charter still says every 6 months. You should have modified the charter at the time, but you didn't. So whatever you write in the charter, follow it. You don't write it, that's okay.
My argument was that this is evidence that auditors don't have common sense.
They are trying to recruit ex-military, right? Like that's what they said in the Health Canada audit. They were saying, "Oh, we are trying to recruit ex-military." I said, "Why?" Oh, they have an eye for finding errors. Anyway, so there is a several. It's not that we need to, but it's part of it. Yes, yes. Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yes. That's an excellent point, and I thought I'll cover it tomorrow. But it's so you need to work overnight to make sure you get the results to them within that 3 working business days. It becomes very crucial at that point. When they say it, you have to start working on it ASAP, because they are not going to give a call as soon as the meeting is done. The PI knows if they don't receive a call, they are trying to investigate more before getting the call. It's a very rare situation it has happened. Most likely they would be able to make the decision immediately. But even if they're not able to make the decision, we have a window of less than 24 hours. That's it. I need to give the results. That comes with the pressure, because no one will be there to validate. I need to complete the data and to my best of the knowledge. And that's why we have statistician on the board too. A lot of them, they volunteer to help us. They would ask for some complicated method. They would say, can you please do this? I'm like, no, I don't know. And they would say, oh, no, don't worry, Kumar, I'll give you this paper. Can you please read this one and send me the results? I will validate it. Sometimes they will volunteer to validate my data, because I don't have anybody to validate this, and they can validate. From the DSMB statistician, that's the purpose of having a statistician there, to look from a statistician perspective. They do. It is true. It's true, but what can we do? Like, they are around the world, right? Like, they are in different part of the point, timing.
But this thing about the 3 days is just our policy. It's not anybody else's policy. This is what we follow at PHRI, because the director at PHRI wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to know promptly.
You can custom it.
You can do it whenever you want.
NIH have 3 days policy too.
No, they have it 1 week.
Oh, is it? Okay. Which is better.
What charges you on?
It doesn't matter. You take another 1 week to even answer the email or whatever it is. They are not going to stop until the DSMB is going to recommend you to stop. They are automatically assuming that we are continuing the trial. Great. Okay. Yes. Yes. No, go ahead. Great question. I think it is a reputation they built. That's how the chair. There is no qualification to it. If Srikanth is chair for most of the study, no, that's what I'm saying. There are a lot of times, but they need to build that reputation. It doesn't happen overnight. To have a statistician, especially clinicians and statisticians, right? 2 different things. And all 5 people are clinicians and 1 statistician. Of course, they may prefer to have a clinician there, but it doesn't matter whether you're a clinician or statistician. It's a knowledge that you bring into it. And they believe a good statistician can bring a lot of knowledge to this board, because they look at the data and they also can understand the science behind it. So, yeah, they can. You can select. It's a reputation how they build it. There is no qualification who need to be there.
In my case, it was the sponsor, his idea,
Yeah.
that it has to be a statistician.
Yep.
And I was totally inexperienced in dealing with any data safety management. So why did he choose me? I don't know. I was junior. I had not much experience. I had prepared reports for set in. Maybe the person in his organization that recommended me said, yeah, there were 2 statisticians. So he was not going to choose an ophthalmologist, because he, being an ophthalmologist, the chair and the director of the Institute of Ophthalmology, National Institute, and NIH, he believed that it should not be. It should be a statistician. Now, between the 2 statisticians, the other one was actually senior to me, but I don't know why he chose me. But the point is that the qualifications of the chair are not so much if you have experience, it's helpful. But we don't have experience. All 5 of us on that board have never served on the chair of the board. This was early 1990s, mid 1980s, when this board was was sort of starting. There is no people with experience anymore. Very good. Nowadays, we have the opposite
Yep.
situation, where our boards, members of our board, tend to be in their 60s and 70s.
Yep.
We don't have young people. And why? Because they don't have experience. And people, the sponsors want people with experience. How are you going to get the young people to have experience if you don't invite them to the end? So the policy that I'm trying to follow is the one that was used by my boss, which is let the junior people in your organization sit in quietly, not observe what's happening. They see how the discussions go. They see how they arrive at recommendations. That's the part. There is no way to train you on this by lecturing. Being in there is very different. You learn by and be listening to the discussion.
And that includes even for physicians to be volunteer. You need to reach out to some of the doctors. If you're part of a DSMB, please invite me. I'd like to be part of. Just observer. You're a non-voting member. You just observe. I'm part of Shrikant's one of the trial where I'm non-voting member, just observing an NIH trial, just sitting there watching. Of course, as a statistician, I've sat in 80 to 90 DSMBs, but you are under the pressure with the data and everything. I'm not looking into the perspective of how they are making decision. I'm not enjoying that process. I'm worried about what's the data interpretation is going on, not the other side. So you had a question. Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Expected. Yeah. Mhm. So the good part about our institute, and I can only give an example only about that, and maybe Shrikant can talk about NIH. In that, what we do is most of the time the unblinded or DSMB reporting statistician is actively involved in creating the reports and doing that. But when coming to the close or end of the trial, they are still unblinded, but we also have something called closeout statistician. So the role of an unblinded statistician will change into a closeout statistician because they know the unblinding of the results. They prepare everything, and they are now the leading closeout statistician. So they change the role so that they can get the authorship of it. But if they stay as an unblinded statistician, so we change their role as a closeout statistician. It's just a terminology used within the institute, but they are involved in it. But they're not involved in the study conduct yet because they are the ones who are going to unblind the PI itself. Because the PIs need to unblind to the result, whether they're going to be happier. That's how we make sure that they get that credit.
But Marcel, this is unique to our institute. There is not a set policy on what is common. First of all, is that members of the DSMB, once a study ends, whether it ends early or ends as scheduled, their role ends. They're not involved in the scientific part of the study after the study ends. They usually never are part of any publication. If the study investigators feel that they want to mention them, the long list of people that collaborated, there's a little tiny thing that these are the members of the board. That's all it is. Now, the unblinded statistician usually is from another independent group.
Yeah.
And they are paid, contracted to do the analysis. They are never even mentioned anywhere in the publication or in the acknowledgement, or their name doesn't appear whatsoever. In our institution, the unblinded is part of the institution. And so we've created this process by which, once the study is ended, the person that has done all this work throughout, in order to be recognized somehow, now gets involved in the closeout study, that therefore now is involved in the analysis for the main publication, and therefore is a knowledge there. And the study statistician that was blinded during that also should be, and often is, involved. Now everybody is getting unblinded, and so now we have two statisticians that are working together. I've had to fight for that because people were not going to give credit to the blinded statistician because, oh, they're not involved, they didn't do this. They were involved for the 4 years of the stupid study, getting all of this work done for you, and now you're not giving them acknowledgement. No, they should be unblinded too, and they can now contribute to the paper just like anybody else. And then now you have two statisticians.
And the unblinded statistician also.
Yeah.
While the DSMB is going on, they do all the work. And actually for what we do also is for the open session.
Yeah.
The blind statistician could do some of those reports. So they're doing those reports too for the open session. The closed session, and then we have.
I'll cover that tomorrow when I show you how we maintain the other part of it. Yep, firewall.
But you know, as Dr. Steven says, this requires resources.
Oh yeah.
It's a luxury to have a blinded and an unblinded statistician. Many times our studies don't have smaller studies or studies in some institutions. They don't have the luxury of two statisticians. So what do? Well, you have the study statistician be the unblinded informed statistician as well. So now this person has to have an incredible poker face.
And you do not, I have written so many SAP, I've written so many input to the protocol, but whatever they ask me, I will do it. If a PI says add these analysis, I'll add it. I know this analysis doesn't make sense because my data is skewed. I know what is going on, but I care nothing. We tell, because I am running short of resource. I don't have a resource to have two people to do it. What should I do? As a manager, I'll write everything. I'll ask Shrikant to just sign on my behalf, but I will write anything and everything that PI asks me to do it. Or if I need to advise, I will advise as a statistician. It's a trained statistician. I will say, yeah, this you need to have a competing, you should not have a competing or something like that. They ask, sure. But I will not answer whether it makes sense for this data or not. I will not say it. But that comes with the training. I will not engage into it. I will not even advertise that part. I will try to make sure that you have that firewall if you have a resource. Sorry, there's a question. Okay. Yeah. For the interim, or is it the first meeting? Yes. 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 So technically, when we are having a DSMB, we put every 6 months, and then there will be a line. We add it here. Here you can see there it says there is a 50% or 75%. It's not here. Okay. So Shrikant will be talking more about that one. So what we do is we will say 50% of the event or randomized patient happens. We will have an interim analysis. That's when we will stop the trial for efficacy. Anyway, safety is always looked at it. In every DSMB meeting, they look at the safety. Futility, we don't have a guidance, but they will look into that. But efficacy, we will have look at it only during the interim. Now, for the logistic reasons, if my 6 months is coming closer to the interim analysis, I will postpone that 6 months meeting to coordinate with the interim analysis. So that I'm not going to have a 6-month meeting on January and then have an interim analysis on February. Does not make any sense there, right? So you need to have, you can only put a general statement in it and you can go back and forth or closer to that one, right? And how do you choose number of interim is a tricky question. Again, it's need to be study specific. As Dr. Jayaselan was saying, if it's a 1-year trial, how many interim you can have? Maybe one interim itself is a lot of, even one interim is a lot. Then you might need to just choose a data monitoring special, what is it? Medical officer. You may not even need to have a DSMB. It's a small trial, then you can just have a medical officer to monitor the safety. And you can just move on with that. What's that? Oh, it's a 5-year trial, so you should have a DSMB, and then again, you can have a event-driven DSMB meetings, or you can have a total randomized patients DSMB meeting, or you can have a constant every 6 months meeting. It is all depends on the resource. As a statistician, if you're all available and if you have a money that PI can pay you, and of course, yeah, you can have it every 6 months. But yes, you need to have a unblinded statistician. Yesterday, I was talking to him about that part, and we will talk more about how do we in our institute keep there is a separation of the data within the institute itself. You can act as a blinded, and she can as an unblinded to the trial, and she need to stay unblinded. That if you, it's first time it's difficult to implement that process. You need to keep it very confidential. You need to know what you're doing, but once you set it up, it's very easy. I can show you tomorrow. Yes. Regarding? That's a good question. Dr. Jayaselan, do you know anything like that? You know, like, is there any DSMB members that, you know, have been getting trained and we can?
Lab people, I forgot her name. She's trained by WHO to be a member in DSMBs, making site visits and examine the quality, audit the quality of the data, etc. I can find out the name. She's from Gindi, that the institute, the King's Institute, there was a vaccine. There are many people available in Chennai. Yeah.
And you can ask Chikant. Chikant can be the DSMB member for.
He's already an NIH member.
Like I'm just saying, like it's all based on the context. In my knowledge, because a lot of times we are in the cardiovascular, we have doctors, we know who are into the research, and we know, oh, this person can be a great fit. Oh, he needs some experience for his own faculty thing. I will ask him to be part of it because he's great in nephrology or he's great in the surgery files. I will look for something like this. A lot of times it's recommended by the sponsor because they want to make sure they have the right number of people.
Yeah. Professor Marimudu is there. Marimudu is available now. His time is here. He's here.
So yeah. So you need to look for it. Yeah.
Right. It has to be a concerted effort to get people trained. And again, I said, training, you just say do a week long or even a semester training, like a course, is not as good as actually sitting on it.
Yeah.
And so I think if there's going to be training, it has to be two ways. One is workshops like this, but also coupled with people that have the opportunity to know that there's a video safety market board that's happening. And for a study, you contact and get to know who you are, know the best way. Somehow you can somebody in my staff sit. You have to sign all sorts of documents, confidentiality, privacy, this and that. But in my experience, people that are the sponsors, they know they need people. So all I had to do was tell the NIH, I would like Kumar to sit on this. That's fine. Oh, yeah. Need you to do this. If it's for training purposes, then good.
And recently, what was the meeting, Shikant? It was SCT or SSC? So We have world-renowned statistician Janet Witters, David Demetz, and everybody were talking about the primary topic on that statistical meeting is how to train the next generation for DSMB. There is a lack of DSMB reporting statisticians and worldwide. I'm talking about this is a main topic of discussion by the world leaders in the field of biostatistics. So it's a need of the hour. So